Imagine you are standing in the middle of a football pitch, and I hand you a simple spade. I ask you to dig a perfectly geometric hole, and I tell you that you cannot make a single mistake while removing the soil. Now, imagine doing that not in soft soil but in solid basalt rock. In the heart of Maharashtra, India, there is a monument that completely defies modern architectural logic. It is the Kailasa Temple, forming the centerpiece of the Ellora Cave system. It is universally considered one of the greatest rock-cut architectural feats in human history. But unlike traditional temples that were built by cutting blocks, transporting them, and stacking them upward, this temple was carved into a solid basalt hillside, starting directly from the top down. The entire structure is one giant monolith. There are no freestanding stones. The builders literally freed a magnificent, mathematically perfect complex from the mountain itself. To do this, they had to remove an estimated 400,000 tons of solid volcanic rock. Today, we are going to investigate the crown of ancient engineering. We are going to break down the mathematical impossibility of the official construction timeline. We will look at the ancient, high-technology tools depicted in the hands of the original architects. And we are going to ask the forbidden question, how do you vaporize 400,000 tons of solid bedrock without leaving a single trace of debris behind? To understand why the Kailasa Temple is an anomaly, we have to look at what the official history claims. As per historical records, the temple was built by the 8th century Rashtrakuta King Krishna I, sometime between the years 756 and 7730 AD. The mainstream archaeological explanation insists that this mind-bending structure was created by thousands of laborers using nothing but simple iron chisels, picks, hammers, and wooden mallets. The most commonly cited time frame for the completion of this monolithic wonder is just 18 years. But when you take those numbers and apply basic engineering logistics, the official story immediately begins to crack. Let us do the math. Estimates suggest that up to 400,000 tons of basalt were removed during the excavation of the site. If we assume they worked for 18 years without stopping, and we generously assume they worked for 12 hours every single day, the extraction rate is mathematically staggering. They would have had to extract over 5 tons of solid rock every single hour. And they had to do this without explosives, without heavy machinery, and without making a single structural mistake. Vertical extraction makes the process exponentially more challenging because they were carving from the top down. The architects had to visualize three-dimensional rooms, doorways, and highly intricate statues that did not yet exist. If a worker chipped away a few too many inches of stone on a pillar, they could not simply replace the block. The mistake would be permanent. Yet, we look at the main structure measuring roughly 34 meters wide by 46 meters long, and we see absolute perfection. Achieving this extraction rate while maintaining sub-millimeter artistic precision is something modern engineers openly admit they would find nearly impossible to replicate today in just 18 years. The extraction rate is a massive problem for the official narrative, but there is a second mystery that is arguably even more baffling. If you excavate 400,000 tons of rock, that rock has to go somewhere. The transportation and logistics of removing that much heavy basalt is a monumental task. In any standard quarrying operation, you would find massive piles of debris, staging areas, or historical evidence of where the extracted stone was utilized. But when researchers look for the remnants of this rock, they find nothing. The rock is completely gone. So how did they remove a mountain of stone without leaving a trace? If we look into the ancient Indian epic stories, we find descriptions of high technology that sound remarkably like science fiction. There is an old tradition that mentions a device called a Brahmastra. According to the texts, this was a powerful device that could carve rock and literally vanish it, obliterating the solid stone into nothing but dust. Could an ancient, lost technology be responsible for the creation of this site? Interestingly, local folklore from the region offers another incredible claim. A legend says that the temple was not built in 18 years, but was miraculously constructed in just 1 week. The story goes that a queen vowed to fast until she could see the temple's spire, so the architect promised to reveal the top of the structure within 7 days. While modern scholars dismiss this as a mere myth, the sheer perfection of the top-down carving suggests that the builders possessed tools and methods that have been completely lost to history. To understand the true technological capability of the builders, we must look at how they depicted their own architects. According to ancient Indian texts, Vishwakarman was the master architect who engineered great cities and ancient temples with insane perfection. Orthodox historians look at carvings of Vishwakarman and claim he is a multi-headed god holding various primitive weapons. But a closer, engineering-focused inspection reveals a completely different story. In one hand, one of the faces of the statue is looking directly into a small, telescope-like device. When you compare it to modern equipment, it perfectly matches a theodolite. A theodolite is a highly advanced instrument used by civil engineers to make sure an area is perfectly flat and horizontally leveled before construction begins. In his other hand, Vishwakarman holds a leveling rod with visible markings on it. This explains exactly how the ancient builders were able to shear off the tops of mountains to create a perfectly flat plane before they started carving. But it gets even more specific. To measure absolute vertical perfection, other ancient statues show the architect holding what is undeniably a plumb bob. The carving even shows his finger pressing a specific spot on the device, functioning exactly like a modern push-button mechanized plumb bob. He is also depicted holding a long cylinder that is shown going directly into the ground. This identically resembles a modern soil probe, a tool used to detect the strength of the earth before heavy construction. And for the actual construction process itself, the architect is shown holding a dome-like device with a split bottom. It strongly resembles a tuning fork. We have just begun to understand the power of acoustic vibration and sound in modern science. Is it possible that the ancient builders were using advanced resonance devices to manipulate sound frequencies, allowing them to effortlessly cut through solid basalt? The true test of the Kailasa Temple's engineering did not happen during its construction, but centuries later when an empire tried to erase it from the earth. The Mughal ruler Aurangzeb made a deliberate and strong attempt to vandalize and completely destroy the Kailasa Temple. He employed a massive team of men who spent 3 entire years trying to demolish the structure. Despite having thousands of men striking the stone day after day, they could barely scratch the surface. They managed to cause minor damage to a few peripheral statues, but the main structure was completely impervious. Aurangzeb was eventually forced to give up. They failed because knocking down a traditional building made of stacked bricks is one thing, but breaking apart a structure that is seamlessly integrated into the living bedrock requires an entirely different level of force. The temple features intricate spaces like the Nandi Pavilion and a central sanctum, all aligned in perfect cosmic geometry. The entire complex adheres to principles of sacred geometry, specifically the Vastu Shastra. It acts as a massive physical manifestation of Mount Kailash with an alignment that connects the earthly realm directly to the cosmos. The precision of its underground drainage channels, its perfectly shaped circular pillars, and the fact that it can withstand massive earthquakes points to a highly advanced understanding of load distribution and rock mechanics. Today, we build our greatest towers out of steel and concrete, and we fully expect them to require massive renovations or complete demolition within a single century. We measure our progress in microchips and digital data that can be wiped out by a single solar flare. But the ancient engineers of India took a single mountain and shaped it into a mathematically perfect masterpiece. The Kailasa Temple, known as Cave 16 out of the 34 magnificent caves found at Ellora, has survived for over 1,000 years. It stands as the ultimate, undeniable physical proof that the timeline of human technological capability is not a straight line of simple progress. Whether they used advanced acoustic resonance tools, the legendary rock vaporizing Brahmastra, or simply a level of absolute architectural genius we have since forgotten, the builders of the Kailasa Temple accomplished something that shames the modern world. The next time someone tells you that our ancestors were primitive people relying entirely on copper chisels and brute force, remember the missing 400,000 tons of solid rock. Thanks for watching. If you want to explore more impossible monolithic structures and see how the identical signs of ancient machining are found everywhere from the Andes to Egypt, click the video on your screen right now.